Hi guys, today I'm going to be making some stuffing. I'm going to be making sage and onion stuffing with chestnuts. Now you can either stuff your turkey, or if you're using a roast beef or a roast pork and you want to make them into balls, and then you can bake those separately. Now what I'm going to do is I have day-old bread. I made this bread and basically I've let that dry out. You could use sliced bread, whatever bread you have in the house. Let that dry out and I'm going to blend those and make them into breadcrumbs. If you didn't want to use that method, then you could purchase some breadcrumbs from the shop. So that's, you know, a lot easier. But I already have bread, so I'm going to blend that into breadcrumbs. I also have some chestnuts. Now all I've done is dehusk those chestnuts. I've just taken the husk off them. I've let them freeze for 48 hours. Now if you didn't have chestnuts, or you couldn't get chestnuts, then you can purchase chestnuts from the supermarket. Normally they come in a vacuum pack, or you can buy them in a tin. Now these make the stuffing really nice because it has a nice nutty flavour when you're actually cooking off the chestnuts. So yeah. You're also going to need some onion. You're going to need some chicken stock cube, or you could use vegetable stock cube, and you're also going to need some sage. Now this is sage from my garden. All I've done is pluck it out of the garden, and I've let that dry because when it's dried it gives out the flavour, and I've let that dry for 72 hours. If you didn't have sage at home, you could just buy a jar from the supermarket, and that would do just as good. And you also need some salt and pepper. Now if you wanted to, you could either stuff your turkey or stuff your chicken, or if you've got beef or pork, you can make balls out of the stuffing, and then you could roast those separately, either around the meat itself, or you can bake them in a tray in the oven. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so to start off, I'm going to make the breadcrumbs. I've just put my liquidizer on top of my Kenwood here. If you have another style blender or a food chopping machine, then you would just put your stale bread into there. So I'm just going to fill it up to about there for the moment. It's going to be very noisy, so I should put the sound down. Okay, so basically what you want is you want a nice fine breadcrumbs like this. That is perfect now. Basically you just keep blending them through until you've got the required amount of breadcrumbs. Okay, so we're good to go. Okay, so you put all of those breadcrumbs into a bowl, or if you've got the store-bought breadcrumbs, you just put those into the bowl as well. That's looking good, nice and fine. Okay, so it's important to have very fine dice. I'm going to cut the top off. I'm just going to score around the onion to get rid of the skin. And you cut down the centre and leave the root intact. You want a nice sharp knife for this. And you just score down evenly, because you want a nice even dice. And you just go down to the root, but you don't cut into it. And then you cut the top like this. Now there's chefs in the trade call this a brunoise of onion. And you just cut it like that, and then you cut down and you'll get a nice fine dice. You can see the root has kept all the onion together. Basically you just want a nice fine dice like that. I'm going to do that for the whole onion. Okay, so if you're going to use fresh and dried sage, then what you need to do is you need to take the dried sage and you need to pull it off the actual stalk, because the stalk in the middle is quite woody, and you don't want that in your stuffing. So you just pull that off. If you're going to be using the shop bought, you don't have to do this, you can just skip to the next step. That's the woody bit, and I'm going to discard that, so yeah, you don't want to use that. If you don't have a pestle and mortar, then you need to chop it up like this. It does just as good. I broke my pestle and mortar last week. I dropped it on the floor. But anyway, hopefully I'll get a new one. But yeah, so you just need to chop it up finely. Okay, so that's looking good there. That's looking nice and fine. You don't want to have any loose leaves. Yeah, so that's nice and fine, how you want it. Okay, so with the chestnuts, whether you have packaged or you have your fresh chestnuts or you have vacuum packed or tinned, you just need to roughly chop those. Okay, so we've got all our ingredients now. We've got the breadcrumbs, we've got the chopped onion, the chopped up chestnuts, the dried sage, and the chicken stock. So now we can just put it all together. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to put a pan onto the heat, let that get nice and hot, and add in some oil to cook the onions. Once the oil has heated up, then we need to put in the onions into the pan. Now we don't want to brown the onions, we just want to soften them down and just give them a little bit of colour. We don't want them brown. See, those have cooked down now a bit. They've started to get a little bit soft. Now this is when we want to add in the chopped up chestnuts. There's the chestnuts there. You just add those in as well. Once they start cooking, they will release a lovely nutty flavour and incorporate there with the onions. Okay, so they've cooked down a little while now. Put that nice nutty flavour, and to that I'm going to add in the sage. You just want to cook this up just a little bit, just to make the sage become aromatic. Smells good. Okay, so that's about done now. Okay, so while the onions are cooling down a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some water into the stock. You just need enough stock just to bind the breadcrumb mixture together. Just stir that in, let it dissolve. And then we let both of those cool down just a little bit, the water, or should I say the stock, and also the onions before we add them to the breadcrumbs. Okay, so with the mixture of chestnuts and also the sage and the onion, you want to put those in with the breadcrumbs. Now what I like to do to get the maximum flavour, now that the pan has got no onions left in it, it's all in the bowl, I like to put some of the chicken stock into the pan, because all the lovely flavours are actually in that pan. So I just move that around, just pick up all of those beautiful herb notes of the sage and the chestnut and also the onion, and then I will pour that into the breadcrumb mixture. And then what you need to do is to stir that around, make sure all the onions and the breadcrumbs and all the chestnuts and everything are all nicely mixed in together. At this stage I like to add in the pepper, good sprinkling of pepper, and also a little bit of salt. Now the chicken stock will already have salt in it, or if you're using vegetable stock, that will already have salt in it, so you don't need to put too much salt in. And then mix that through as well. See, that's coming nicely together now. Now it's still a little bit dry. This is why we add in the stock. We only need enough just to make it into balls, or if you're actually stuffing a turkey, then you just want it into a nice mixture. See, that's still would not be clumping together. So add in the chicken stock. Just add a bit at a time so you know how much you need. Going to need some more. As you can see there, that's starting to come together now. So you could quite easily put that into a turkey or chicken, or make some balls with it. Some people also put it into a loaf tin and cook it that way. It's entirely up to you how you want to cook it. Some people even wrap it in foil and cook it in the oven that way. But I'm going to be making some balls out of it, and then I'm going to be putting those onto a tray, and then some I'm going to use tonight, and the rest I'm going to put in the freezer for another day. Now you need to let that cool. It's going to be too hot to touch at the moment, so I need to let that cool down a little bit, and then I'll make some balls out of it. Okay, so I've allowed the mixture to cool down now, so it's easy to handle. Now I'm making these into balls. If you're going to be stuffing your turkey or chicken, you could make a softer mixture, but I'm making these because I want to make them into balls. So you just place them onto the tray like this. And like I said, I'm going to be cooking some tonight. The rest I'm going to freeze. The reason I'm doing this is so that when I'm having my dinner next week, we're having turkey, I want to be able to do this in advance. So this is super easy then. I can just take them out of the freezer and then pop them into the oven, and I don't have to do it on the same day. So yeah, super easy. Okay, so they're all ready now. I'm going to put those into the freezer for later use. And then for tonight, I'm going to get a dish and put in some oil. Then I'm going to put this into the oven. And I'm going to get it really bubbling hot. And then I'm going to put in some of the stuffing balls. Okay, so the oil is nice and hot now. I've had that in the oven, heating up. 180 degrees, and I'm just going to place the balls inside the oil. You hear them sizzle, sizzle, and you just brush them over, make sure that they all get coated in oil. And then you put them back in the oven for around about 10 minutes. Okay, so they've been in the oven now for 20 minutes, and as you can see, they're a lovely brown colour. Nice stuffing balls. Lovely to have with our dinner tonight. Well, thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Enjoy making some stuffing for yourself. Please subscribe to my channel or give me a thumbs up. Bye-bye for now, and have a great day.